What's going on, everybody? Dr. Young Gunn out here, and now it is time to just ride and have a little fun. Sometimes you know that one road that has some nice twisties on it, and you just really want to get out there and have a little fun. And now is that time. So we're gonna roll and ride and really enjoy a little speed. One thing that I do when I'm riding, especially when I want to be a little aggressive, is I like to put my suspension mode in 2 up plus luggage. And when you do that, it makes the suspension much harder, make you feel like you're riding on rails, and it kind of lifts the bike up a little bit as well, give you a little bit more of a lean angle. And then when you put it also in in sport mode, it gives you an even stiffer ride so that you're not bouncing around the corners. Why am I doing this video? Because a buddy of mine once told me, he said, man, them big bikes can't really roll like that around the corners like we can with our other bikes. I said, oh yeah? Okay. Challenge accepted. Now, he knows how I roll. And he still wanted to put that out there, so here we go. For all of the naysayers who's probably going to be in the comments, oh, you shouldn't be riding that fast, and yeah, we shouldn't do a whole lot of things. But we are. Right now, it's a good day off. It's 1:12 in the afternoon. It's not going to be a lot of traffic because everybody's still at work. No school buses. Until you have a big guy like this come around. So that's always a good thing. Not a lot of traffic. One thing I do love about riding in sport mode is the fact that, the engine really does help with your braking and stuff. It adjusts very well. I'm very impressed with it, with the DCT. Because a lot of people always ask me, how do when I bought my 2024, my 2025, I went ahead and I got, a manual because that I just don't trust that automatic shifting. And what I tell them is, hey, to each their own. But if I was going to do it, DCT all the way. It really does help a lot, when it comes down to being in the curves. When you get on the brakes, it makes sure it holds the gears almost as if I was doing it myself, God, the wind is very high. I don't know if you guys can notice those trees. The wind is extremely high today. But I also can paddle shift as well. Kind of scrape there. These darn highway pegs, I tell you, I've been through 3 different pair of highway pegs. I absolutely hate where they're located on this new generation of Go Wing. It's not that you're bottoming out on the on the bike, but it's the highway pegs that is, grabbing or scraping against the ground. So time I start to feel it, it does want to push you out some. So I kind of anticipate it and just be prepared for it. Listen to that. Oh, golly, that motor, just wonderful. I've been riding for a while now, and I don't mind being a little aggressive. The wind got me back there. Look at those. Golly. The one thing I do is I like to be safe. I know this road, and even if it was a road that I didn't know, I always have my GPS up. That way you can see how deep the curve is. You always want to go into the curve, it's a little slower, then you can throttle out of it. So you're not going in blind. Going in blind is definitely a great way to get yourself hurt. Now, with my 2006 Gold Wing, I'm going to tell you, with the highway pegs I have on it, I never have to worry about that thing making me slow down in a curve like it just did back there. I mean, the whole design just makes you want to go. With this bike here, the 283, I'm always self-conscious about, is that going to be too much of a curve? Is that not going to be too much of a curve for the highway pegs? So I always take that into account. Another thing is that I always look at the edge of the curve, knowing what's in the curve. Sometimes it might be gravel. Sometimes it may not be anything. But you're always watching the edge of the curve that you're going inside of. That way, if a car is coming, even though your wheels are not on the line, your body can be on the line or even over the line. So if someone is coming, it gives you a little time to adjust accordingly. But man, I'm telling you, I just absolutely love it. I don't ride like this all the time, but every once in a while, you got to get out there and open her up. Make sure them skills are still there. I have one buddy, he's always telling me that, well, Marcus, you want to keep it as straight as possible in the curve, they'll try to cross over the line or whatnot. And, hey there, they'll probably come in through that white, which I understand that if we were on a track. But I think that the skill comes into play when you can keep such a large bike like the Gold Wing in that lane and nice and smooth. That's when I think the skill really does come in. You have to think a lot more of how to adjust the bike, how, you're learning your braking technique, knowing what the bike will do, what the bike won't do. If you are in that case, especially if you're on a road that's a regular road like this, you want to make sure that no incoming car is coming. So for me, I'm not really into, crossing that line like that. If that's the case, then I'm just going to slow it down. But don't get me wrong, they can definitely ride. They can definitely ride their machines for sure. Some people may say, well, Doc, that's just careless. I wouldn't necessarily say it's careless, because careless just means that there's not a thought going on in your head. You're just out there flying. No, for me, it's almost like it's a mission. I'm watching my roads. I'm watching to see is there even a car coming out of a driveway. Is it a road that I know? Do I know where that house is? Do I know where that car may be? You know, you have stuff like this in the road from the farmers. So in every single curve, I'm mentally prepared for something to be there, and how am I going to adjust it or adjust myself? You know, sometimes if there's something in the road and it's all the way across the road, it don't matter if you were doing the speed limit or not. You're not going to be able to stop that bike in time before that slide. If that does happen, then you ask yourself, okay, what would you do in that particular situation? I know for me, like something like this, you know, I've already saw that before I even got up to the curb. That is in there in the middle of this road. So that's why I wanted to make sure I took it a little bit sharper to keep the bike's wheels from touching the dirt. Now, when I can see that it's going to be mostly straightaway like this, there's no houses or whatnot, then you can let her ride a little bit. You can see all the way out. So while I was back at that curve, you know, I'm looking way up here at that barn. What's in the road, okay? And then on my GPS, I see that there's a turn going left. It's a big sweeper. But then I'm noticing that it's going to come in on itself a little bit. So I downshift before I get to it, get my speed where I need, and then I can throttle out. Watch the inside of the curve. Keep my gears nice and tight on the RPMs. Slowing it down here because I know there's a big break there, see? So you have to come out, come back in. But again, you know, I do know this particular road.